Welcome to In Conversation. Coming up, Connor McDavid and Brett Kissel. Just before I introduce the two men, since our last show, we've lost two NHL legends, really. Pat Stapleton was a star in the National Hockey League and the World Hockey Association and a hero of the 72 Summit Series. And Tom Webster, both as a player and a coach, had a huge impact. I can remember Tara Sloan and I on Rogers Hometown Hockey. Twice we had Pat Stapleton and his son Mike on the show, and both times he deflected the attention onto somebody else. In the case of the Sarnia show, it was Neil Armstrong, a former referee, said he lives just over there in that condo, doesn't get out much. Make sure you mention him. And when we were in Strathroy, he mentioned Dr. Crowley, who was loved in the community, and he spent the whole time talking about a doctor. So that's his generosity. Tom Webster the same way. It's Good Friday, it's Passover. These are sacraments set aside to think about sorrow and also eternal gratitude, and that's the way I feel about the Websters and the Stapleton family. So we're sending our love, and you couldn't have two better guests to typify the spirit of Tom and Pat. Connor McDavid and Brett Kissel, forget their talent, their heart. Pat Stapleton had a great line that reminds me of these two. He always said, the largest room in the world is the room for improvement. These two are already the best, and they're getting better.
Connor McDavid moving in. McDavid waits. What a play! What a goal! Classic Connor.
Look at McDavid steal the puck from Hanifin. Here he comes, scores! Lightning fast. Connor McDavid.
McDavid, what a move! What a play! What a goal! Connor McDavid! Wow.
Absolutely undressed him. What a goal by Connor McDavid.
Yeah, she drives me.
From Flat Lake, Alberta, please give it up for Brett Kissel!
And the Juno
for Country Album of the Year goes to
We Were That Song from Brett Kissel.
I think we can all agree that you got to be vulnerable, you got to do what you got to do and trust your gut. I used to sing anthems as a little kid standing on the coffee table before hockey night in Canada as a 2-3-year-old, so I guess I've always liked the stage ever since then. I love the sport more than anything, to be honest. I love country music, but I might even like hockey more. I, in country music, am not what Connor McDavid is to hockey.
Well, you're both joining us from Alberta. We'll get to that in a second. Connor, you did a lovely thing yesterday for Colby Cave, so maybe just reiterate your feelings and what you know.
Yeah, obviously it's devastating what's going on with Colby. I said yesterday, I just think it's important that we're all keeping him in our thoughts and prayers, and you know, I mean, that's all we can do. And you know, Colby's a good Saskatchewan boy, and you know, he's as tough as they come. And if anyone's going to get through it, it's going to be Colby Cave. And but we just need to be sending out good vibes and thoughts and prayers for the entire family, for Colby, for Emily, for you know, it's just a tragedy what's going on there with him, and you know, we just need him to wake up here. So you know, at the end of the day, we can't control it, but we can think about him and you know, make sure we're sending out those good thoughts.
Well, Brett, there's another example of why you and Connor are such dear friends and why you admire Connor. You are an Oilers fan, and you and Connor have a connection that goes back to Rome, Italy. It's kind of a funny one. Let's start there.
Yeah, it's very interesting. I did a show in France earlier that summer, and my wife and I, we stayed an extra couple of days, and we went to Rome because my producer was getting married. So we were part of the wedding, and we're on Instagram, and I think I sent Connor a DM, or it might have been Lauren as well. Maybe Cece did it. I can't remember, but like, are you guys in Rome right now? And he replied, yeah, we're in Rome. And I said, where are you guys at? Because we're at such and such hotel. And it turns out we were just a few blocks away from each other. And we ended up going for a nice dinner, because I think you guys were still there from a World Championship or World Cup or something like that in Czech Republic, and still on a Euro trip. So it was nice to meet up with the two of them.
Yeah, I played in the World Championships there, and we did a little Euro trip. So we were there we did a little tour for 2 weeks, and we were ending in Rome. And you know, it was 2 weeks of just me and Laura, and we're just dying to see some other people. So it was great to catch up with Brett and Cece, and you know, ended up having a nice dinner.
That Worlds, Connor, had to be an incredible. Your game winner there, it's got to be up there with one of the biggest goals you've scored. Is it?
The one in Russia there you're talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it is one of the biggest goals so far. I wish there was more to talk about, but that's definitely one of the bigger goals I've scored so far in my career. But hopefully, there's many more and more important goals to score.
Well, the youth with which you succeeded at the under-18s, the World Juniors, and the World Championship, Connor, you're the youngest ever to have that triple. And Brett, same story for you. You're a young guy when you win the Juno. You're the youngest ever to win a country music award. So in Canada, pressure of being young and trying to make it. I would love to ask both of you that question. How did you manage, Brett, in the crosshairs of making it in the bright lights?
I think the biggest thing for me, Ron, was just not thinking about it, not thinking that I was young and doing anything different. I just wanted to go and play country music and play guitar. And I was very lucky that, awards and recognition came my way. But I wasn't doing it for that. I just wanted to go and play on stage. So it's interesting to look back now. I'll be turning 30 this year, and I'll look back at kind of what I accomplished in my teens and my 20s. But I'm more looking forward to all the cool things that I think I have yet to do. And it's interesting how Connor says, yeah, it was just, one of the biggest goals I scored, but, hopefully there's more. I mean, I think everybody in oil country and across the world has seen you score a lot of big goals. So it's crazy to think what's coming up next for Connor, if you've obviously accomplished so much, as a young superstar.
Obviously, Connor, it's the Cup. You're thinking about the Stanley Cup, and why wouldn't you be? But I'll ask you that too. But when you were breaking into the National Hockey League with all that pressure and expectation, who helped you? How did you do it?
Honestly, I think it was probably my dad. He's obviously the guy that's been there all the whole time. And when you're first breaking in, there's a lot of focus on your own game, and I was going into my second year, I think it was, and he's like, "Wow, why can't you lead the league in scoring?" And I'm like, "Are you kidding me? Like, that's not possible. Like, there's no way I can do that. Like, why not?" And then, sure enough, I had a good start, and all that stuff was going on, and I ended up leading the league in scoring that year and winning the Hart, and the Oilers got back in the playoffs. So, probably one of my favorite hockey memories so far, if not my favorite hockey memories, is playing at Oiler hockey in the playoffs in Edmonton with that crowd behind us. Kiss was singing the national anthems. It was getting the place going. It was so special to be a part of that. Probably my dad is the one that helps me through all that stuff.
I'm going to get to your brother Cameron too, and your mom Kelly. But Brian, obviously, is a junior hockey player with St. Michael's Buzzers and played for Rick Cornacchia there. He's a fantastic skater too. So he's no you, but he's a really good hockey player. And Brett, you remember Game 3 of the conference series against Anaheim? What happened?
Oh yeah, I remember it very well. It's funny, you guys were kind of talking Wayne Gretzky stories off the air, and he and Dave Semenko were the first two people that I saw after my mic went down. And Dave Semenko nudged me, as I've known him for many, many years, and we're both sponsored by a company called Driving Force, and he gives me a nudge and he says, "Isn't that funny how everybody cheers louder for the anthem that you didn't even sing?"
Well, you did a great job of getting the crowd engaged, and what a series that was. Let's talk about your brothers. You first, Brett. I know Cameron a little bit through Brian and Kelly McDavid telling me about Cameron's role in Connor's life, but I don't know Jameson's story much. Was he an influence on you?
My big brother, of course, I think every big brother is and has a role to play, especially in my upbringing. But it was his lack of interest in country music that actually was one of the biggest inspirational moments for me and things, because I always wanted to do stuff to impress him because I never could. He was 3 years older than me. I don't think he could have cared any less about country music or the fact that I was wearing Wrangler jeans and playing guitar in any way, shape, or form. So I felt that I had this guy that I needed to impress and keep performing for, or try to elevate my game to get some attention out of the guy. And finally, I did actually, Ron, in 2006. I've been playing country music for a long time, but I got my first anthem gig for the Oilers and the Flames. And all of a sudden, my brother's like, okay, this is pretty cool. Do you think you can get me free tickets? To which I did. And we've been buddies ever since. And we've been watching some great hockey games and going to some great sports things that country music has given me the opportunity to give to him.
Hey, don't let me forget the Battle of Alberta. But first, Cameron, Connor, tell me about him.
Yeah, I mean, He's my older brother, so he was kind of my first competition. When you're out there on the pond, it's just me and him. He was 4 years older than me, or 3.5 years older than me. And he was a good hockey player, so he was always driving me to be better, and I never wanted to lose to him, and he never wanted to lose to his younger little brother, and we always were trying to show each other up and whatever. But obviously now we have a great relationship, and he's someone that I lean on a lot, and very, very lucky to have him in my life, and to have him kind of raise me in a way just into the person I am today, along obviously with my parents. But I think being the younger brother is sometimes a great way to grow up, just because they teach you so many different things on how to be tough and how to fight back, and he was definitely that older brother for me.
I mean, you'd skate in the off seasons with Giordano, but you're a very dear friend of Sam Bennett's, and Travis Dermott was on your teams in Newmarket. It's unbelievable to me that the Flames and Oilers are going to be, such rivals, and you have such connections to that Calgary team, especially Sam Bennett. And actually, your mom told a great story. You used to play the anthem before you'd play mini sticks with Sam Bennett. Is that true?
Yeah, that's true. I hate to admit it, but we used to play mini sticks, and before we would start, we would stop and take a little anthem break. It wasn't Kissel singing, but it was one of us or something like that. So yeah, we played the anthem before we play mini sticks, and off we'd go, and not so different than how we do on Saturday nights every now and then. Just it would get a little physical, it would get a little rough, and it would be lots of fun.
And that's another thing. You mentioned your second year when you got to finally play Crosby, because you'd been injured for the Pittsburgh games in your rookie season. During the anthem, looking at 87 was a big deal to you, right?
Yeah, I mean, that was a lot of people talk about their first NHL moment. I see NHL does a spot, first NHL moments, and for me, there was one time my first year we were playing Ovechkin early on in my career before I was hurt, and that was a big one. And then I had to wait all the way until the next season to kind of get my first welcome to the NHL moment when I got to face off against Sid, and I just remember the opening face off was me against him, and I was nervous, and he snapped it so far back that he was already out of the circle before I could even get my head up. So it was a special moment for me, and special to play against a guy like that, a guy I grew up watching and idolizing.
Brett, I was telling you off air that Wayne Gretzky and Connor did a thing for GQ Sports. Is an unbelievable 20-plus minute interview conducted at the All-Star in St. Louis. And Wayne answered the question from Connor, where's your favorite place to play on the road? And he said Toronto, Maple Leaf Gardens. I didn't hear yours, Connor. I'll come back to you on that. But for you, Brett, where's your favorite venue to play music?
You know what? It's very difficult to kind of find that place, because for me, it's all about the crowd. I've played some places that I thought was going to be absolutely fantastic, and it turned out to be maybe only an 8 or a 9 out of 10. And then you go to some venue on a Tuesday night in the middle of a small town, and it winds up being one of the most memorable nights of your life. So for me, it's very much crowd specific, but there is one venue that I think everybody in country music would say is like the mother church of all things country music, and it's the Ryman Auditorium. And when I got the opportunity to play the Grand Ole Opry at the Ryman and stand in that sacred circle where Johnny Cash and Dolly Parton and Garth Brooks and Merle Haggard and Elvis Presley have stood, there is, I swear to God, just this energy and this feeling of emotion that will come over you as an artist to use that same microphone and stand in that exact same place. So for me, the number one place without question is the Ryman Auditorium and the Grand Ole Opry. I just hope I get a chance to do it more often.
Your favorite road rink, Connor?
Obviously playing in Toronto, especially with friends and family, especially being there this year. But we've had a lot of tough nights in that building, and they're such a good team, so it's obviously tough.
Country music, Connor, I know you like it a bit, right? So what's your favorite country artist and song?
Well, I'd have to say Kissel. No, I love Kiss's music, and it's great. Mm-hmm. My Brett Kissel song though is Airwave, an old one. Not sure what it is, but I'll listen to regularly.
It's a good one, Brett.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that. Well, Airwaves was my first number one, and it was a kind of a life-changing song for me. And it's one of those things that, you know, it's you play it in the live show, and I think it can kind of take the energy to a whole new level. And I remember playing that one in Edmonton, and Connor, your family was there and stuff like that. It was really nice to host you guys at that show. And so if you're ever in the crowd and I do that one, I might have to call you up and do a little karaoke with me. Was that Leonard just barked?
That was Leonard. He's on some problems. He thinks he's a big guard dog, so he's.
He is absolutely adorable, and it's neat, you know, when James Neal isn't training with Gary Roberts and you, I take care of his fitness needs. But you and Gary and your dog, you know the real story there.
Is that in PEI?
That's correct.
House cat?
That's House Cat, and we instead of your Leonard, and we go to the Sportsman's. As you know, we've had some. Brad Richards is a good friend of James and me and all the gang down there. Your dog's also becoming a bit of a Twitter sensation there. So, Brett, tell me about him.
Well, Charlie, I think he's the world's best wiener dog, and he's great. I just had a bit of an issue where our oldest daughter, Mila, she kind of sat me down and said, Dad, I want to start sleeping with Charlie. I want Charlie to sleep in my bed. And my heart kind of sunk because he's been my buddy, you know, for the last 7 years. But of course, whatever my kids want, they get. So Charlie now sleeps with Mila in her bedroom.
Another question, just to close here, Connor. Curtis Lazar, I was with him in Salmon Arm, was our last stop for Rogers Hometown Hockey, and he hails from Salmon Arm and took us houseboating on the Shuswap Lakes, and he was your captain, your line mate at that incredible World Junior Championship. So I would love to hear about Lazar and what you remember about winning the World Junior.
That's a great memory to have. Curtis was down from the NHL, so great to get him back, and I was coming back. A broken hand, and they instantly put us together, and it was the game of the tournament, and we beat Slovakia 8-0 or something like that. And it was such a special team that year. Domi, Duclair, Nursey, I mean, you name it. We had lots of players, and to win in Toronto, play the group stage in Montreal, but to win in Toronto was really special in front of lots of friends and family.
You know, for me, Josh Morrissey's one that jumps out. I remember him springing you on a breakaway that was just otherworldly, and that's when I first realized how great a hockey player he was going to be for the Winnipeg Jets. All right, Brett, just to close, maybe a thought on what you and Cecilia are doing. I mean, She Drives Me Crazy is a song that's been just in my head for weeks. You just keep getting better, and that's the two of you. You work so hard at what you do. What are you up to?
Well, that's very kind of you to say, Ron, but I don't think it's accurate to compare me in any way, shape, or form to Connor. Connor's one of the greatest athletes on planet Earth, and I'm just a country singer trying to make it in the business. I feel I'm like a fourth line guy battling back and forth between the minors and the pros, but I'm going to keep my head down and keep working, and I find that there's a real silver lining in this time. I want to think as positive as I can. And so I'm writing as many songs as I can and working on my craft so that the minute that the floodgates open, you know, we can get back to playing some great shows and touring across Canada and around the world. But I got to be honest, this time with my 3 little kids, our wiener dog, and especially my wife, Cecilia, has been an incredible blessing because like you and your travel, Ron, and your travel, Connor, you know, traveling so much throughout the year, this break, although it's been forced upon us, this break has been a real nice change of pace for me and for my family. And it's really great to sleep in my own bed for the first time in a long, long time.
You know, I have to say, Brett, Lauren and Connor have been really good. Connor, you've been so accessible during this 3 weeks, which means a lot to us who are missing hockey. And I know, you have a good team right now. If we come back, Lord willing, it's going to be hard, right, to imagine. But if we get back, what kind of a playoff do you care to see? Does it matter if we do best of, or can we just do a wild card, or what do you think?
Well, I think as normal as possible, and the full season, and for best of 7 and playoffs on each side, and keep that as regular as possible. But I think we just want to play. My
love to you both. Happy Easter weekend. This was not easy, this one, technically. So you were patient. You were great. Appreciate it. Enjoy yourself.
Thanks a lot, guys.
Be safe.
It's our pleasure. Yeah, thanks a lot, guys.
What a treat again to have Connor and Brett join me. We're back in conversation this Monday, 7 o'clock Eastern, 4 o'clock Pacific on Sportsnet, our YouTube channel, and of course, Facebook. Hope you have a great Easter weekend. We'll close as always with a song lyric. We used this one to close the Olympic Games in 2000 in Sydney, Australia. It was actually England Dan and John Ford Coley's cover of the Todd Rundgren song. But the line is, if there's a shortcut, I'd have found it, but there's just no easy way around it. Light of the world, shine on me. Love is the answer. Happy Easter.